What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Martian and Ozzy podcast. We are back with our 50th episode for you, where we will be talking about the UFC Sandhagen versus Song card going down this weekend from the Apex. 14 fight card, huge fight night card, and actually a lot of really good matchups, a lot of intriguing betting lines. And I'm looking forward to discussing this one with you guys. So, Ozzy, how we doing this week, my man?
Fantastic off that wild pay-per-view over the weekend was one of my I'd probably say one of my best events I've ever had. Just overall with kind of like just how the last like three, four, five bets went. But yeah, it was super intriguing. Obviously Diaz and Tony finishing it out. Nate winning that, cashing as a +20 underdog. And yeah, just a good overall card. Was fortunate with the Aldana and the Daniel Rodriguez results there, but ended up just over 4 units in the green there. And then we got a really action packed card this week with ton of intriguing prospects and guys and girls that I definitely like to watch fight.
Yeah, a bit fortunate with the Aldana one for sure, but honestly, I scored the fight for Rodriguez. Guy bet on some live bets on Rodriguez. Did you as well? There were some crazy live price numbers.
I didn't. I think I only bet like a little bit just because I was in pretty good already. But I did end up betting like a little at the like +220, +230, like towards the end of the second round. I think.
He got to 600 in round 3. I mean, those are some crazy live.
Around 3. Yeah, I don't know. I definitely did not get the crazy prices, but I did bet him at like 220, something
Yeah, I
like
got
that,
like
210.
265 right after round 2 and 600 in round 3. Um and
I don't think that wasn't a robbery. That was just a close fight. Like I'd be
it
down for them
was.
to rematch, do it again at 170, a proper weight class. Like, neither guy was too hurt, so they could definitely do it before the end of the year.
Yeah, I think there was some like fan favoritism for Lee there. People were calling robbery. But I mean, I guess you could give Lee all 3 rounds, but I think it's pretty easy to give D-Rod 2 rounds. But that card was just all right. I mean, it capped off nicely with Diaz getting the win, and we didn't really do an official best bet parlay last week because the Holland and Rodriguez fight fell through, and that was Ozzy's best bet. So Tiululin was my best bet that did win. So not really a parlay, but I guess we'll tally that in the win column for the thing on the YouTube poll. And Jake Collier obviously fucking killed me. I wouldn't say that guy is dead to me. I still like Collier. He just gassed out trying to finish him. So I'm over it. I'm already on to the next week. And we got 14 fights, so enough of that. Let's get into these fights here quickly. And the first fight is in the lightweight division. Nicholas Motta, Cameron Van Camp. Motta is the favorite, -192. Van Camp coming back at +167. Some action coming in on Van Camp. Personally, don't really understand it, but it's cool with me if it keeps coming in because I think this improving Mota price is tempting me. I'm officially labeling Van Camp a role player. I'm pretty successful with these in the UFC. It's just a guy who fights regional MMA and they pretend like they're a high level MMA fighter. They somehow get to the UFC and they're just role playing the fact that they're actually a UFC or an MMA fighter, and that's what Van Camp is. This guy is just nowhere near the level to be in the UFC. And even though Mota is nothing like, he's not like a once in a lifetime type of prospect, he has fought and beaten good fighters like Joe Selecki. Um, did make his UFC debut, tough loss to Jim Miller there, and he's just a sharp fighter. I don't see really any advantages for Van Camp besides her size, and I think Mota is probably just going to catch him with a counter and knock him out at some point here. So I think Mota's money line is getting playable at this price.
Yeah, so we got a matchup here between two 93 boys, which I always hate to see them matched up, but all signs to me point towards the Nicholas Mata side. Mata, he's been around in the scene for a while. He's kind of bounced between camps, uh, on the East Coast, camps on the West Coast, camps in Brazil with Rafael dos Anjos. The guy's all over the place. But it seems like he's well liked, everywhere that he goes. It seems like he's been in training, for the past like few months, like preparing for a fight. He did come off that knockout loss to Jim Miller, but taking on Jim Miller in your UFC debut is really, really tall, ask, especially when, the guy's southpaw, super tricky. And Motta looked flat there. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't a good performance, but I mean, Van Camp is just the guy. He does not train at a very high level gym. He got totally put to sleep by Fialo, and it's just because the guy's hands are incredibly low. Um, he kind of just is looking for the finish all the time. Like he's not even a good striker, but he's looking to exchange a ton there. He's much better on the ground. He's got a bunch of submission wins, so that's gonna probably be his path. He's gonna be the bigger guy here. He's cutting down to 155, which I don't know how he's gonna get that done, but good luck to him. Motta also historically has had an issue with making weight, but I think this time is going to be okay. He's got a lot of notice to this fight. So, I think he's gonna crack Van Camp. I think Van Camp has, I mean, this is a live bet opportunity. I think even if Van Camp hurts Motta, if he takes him down, whatever. I don't know. Whatever happens, I don't care what happens in the first round. Motta's a live to knock this guy out in the second or third round. He did that at Joe Selecki. So I don't know how much lower this price is gonna go. I'm 197 now. BetOnline is historically known to be the sharpest book in terms of MMA, at least in my opinion. So I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe there's some information that I'm, lagging behind on. But I like Nicholas Motta to end Cameron Vennecamp's UFC run. Uh, or I don't know. I feel he should win this fight. I'd be really surprised, but crazier things have
Yeah, like,
happened.
say he loses here and he's out of the UFC. When you see that notice that he's been released, you're gonna think to yourself, "Damn, I really wish I bet against this guy when I had the chance to."
Yeah.
And I mean, this, like Ozzy said, this guy got knocked out cold 4 months ago at welterweight. Now he's cutting an extra 15 pounds down to a lightweight. It's going to be a tough
Is
road.
just so high up in the air. Just so and like this is the worst, obviously 135 to 125 is bad because like no real grown man is 125. But 170 to 155, like so many people have tried to do that and it just doesn't go well. Like the guy's 6'2". He's not small. Um
That has to be
I
why
think he's
people are
getting
betting
finished.
him because he's 5 inches taller. But
I think.
enough about
I
that stupid fight.
probably
Light or bantamweight division next. Good fight match or good matchup here. Tony Gravely taking on Javid-Basharat. And the odds for this one have Basharat as the minus 152 favorite, Gravely plus 132. Some two-way action coming down this fight. What are your thoughts here?
matchup, love it. I think they could have gave Bashrat some lower rank guys for sure. I mean, Tony Gravely, what is he's probably like top. I don't know. That's what
25.
yeah, like top 25. That's what I was thinking. You never know with the rankings cutting off there. But the guy's super solid. I mean, Typology's got him 41. I'd put him higher than that. Is obviously when you consider just UFC guys. So yeah, like top 25 ish. So Javid, he's a Ali guy. So I think they're trying to push him a little bit quicker. Give him a Tony Gravely, and if he can win this fight, I mean, his next fight could be for like a top 15 ranking. In theory. But yeah, it's a tough fight. I mean, Tony, comes from like a karate taekwondo background, but he's just a really, really strong wrestler. He's definitely going to be looking to mix that up. But he's been getting more comfortable with the hands. Obviously, you saw he knocked out Johnny Munoz. That was a fight that I was tossing back and forth on. I was like, all right, I'm going with Johnny. I'm going with Tony. I ended up on the Tony side. And he definitely iced him there. He showed his heavy hands. But the guy's just well rounded. He does put himself in trouble sometimes, just because he's just good with wherever the fight goes. So that could end up. It's more a little bit high volatility. Like he'll definitely probably be in a submission at some point here. He might be stunned, get stunned. Like his chin. Sometimes people have called into question, but the guy's got a lot of experience, man. He's fought the toughest guys, both in his run to the UFC and since he's got there, he's fought pretty tough guys overall. Javid, I don't like this guy that much. Like he's kind of like, when he does sit down on his strikes, they are solid and the shot selection is okay. But I just feel that I'm more skeptical about his submission grappling and how it interacts with a guy like Tony, who's so heavy on top and just so persistent and could cover the hips really well. So I think this is a close fight as it's lined. I do see some equity for Javid getting a finish later on, just if they're really exchanging positions. But I kind of like the Tony Gravely side, the money line. Plus 140 you could get on DraftKings right now. I think it's a fair price for Javid to prove that he could beat a guy who I know is consistently like Tony could beat most guys in the world on any given day. So I'll lean with him and I'll pick him, and I think there's a little value on that money line price.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same, and it's Javid is definitely good. I don't think he's super proven yet, but I think he's very promising. But Tony Gravely is just a grinder. He's very comfortable wrestling for 15 minutes straight. He'll shoot 10, 15, 20 takedowns attempts if he has to, and he's just comfortable in that grinding type of pace. So Javid is a clean striker. He's good on top when he throws ground and pound, but uh, have we ever seen him fight a wrestler of Tony Gravely's caliber? And I don't think the answer is yes. I think that Gravely is going to be the toughest grappling test of Basharat's career. And if you just look at Basharat's record, guys, like up until he got to really his last opponent, Trevin Jones, I mean, all those guys' records are really skeptical. Some guys with flat out terrible records, and then some guys with good records, they look good on paper. They're like 11-1, but then you look at their wins, and they're all over fighters with 0 wins, like the guy he beat on the Contender Series. And I mean, Javid is definitely a decent prospect, but I just think that the market and everybody is too high on him coming off the Contender Series wins and everything. And I'm happy to take Gravely at this plus money price. I think he's going to be at least a unit here for me, maybe even a little bit more. And waiting to see what the price goes because some action last week came in on Basharat. Gravely got up to almost plus 170 at one point, and then some action came back in on Gravely. It's interesting to see where the line's going to go here. So we're both liking Gravely here, the American wrestler in this matchup. And that's going to take us to the women's strawweight division, or flyweight, excuse me. Maria Agapova taking on Jillian Robertson. Uh, we have the odds for this one: Robertson minus 145, Agapova plus 125. Striker versus grappler matchup here. Robertson is the grappler, Agapova is a striker, and Agapova is definitely struggled with the grappling in her career as an MMA fighter, definitely in her last fight against Marion Miraz. I was taping the two of them, and I do see a big difference between Jillian Robertson and Marion Miraz. And so Miraz likes to drive the fence to the cage, get her opponents back up the cage, and she's really strong. She has a strong upper body, and she's able to get good body lock positions and trip her opponents down. So what I'm noticing with Jillian, however, when she's in those same positions, she's a little weaker with the her upper body, so she'll push some of her opponents to the cage, but she doesn't really have the strength to get her opponents down to the floor. And where she shines getting the fight down is in that open space where she can shoot a takedown. So look for that to play out here. Look for when Maria is in that open space with her striking. That is when Jillian's going to time her takedowns to try to get her on the ground. But if Agapova can get her back to the fence, that's actually a good sign for her here. But judging by Robertson being able to just pretty easily take down and destroy Cachoeira on the ground, who's a pretty physical woman for the weight class, I don't think she's going to have a whole lot of difficulty here with Agapova. And Agapova gives up her back left and right. Miraz took her back, had multiple back takes, and eventually did submit her there. And I think the jiu-jitsu level of Robertson is just way, way higher than Agapova. So I think Robertson should outgrapple her and, likely cover her price tag here. I missed the early numbers. The people who got in on Jillian as a dog, or those early numbers, those are really good. But where it's at now, I think I'm just going to sit back and watch this one. What is Jillian's sub? If it's anything better than like 3-1, I would be interested. 265. So not quite enticing enough. Any thoughts here?
I don't really like this fight very much. I know there was a bunch of replacements. I think with it, I don't know. I think Jillian by submission is probably like one of the only things you could play here. I just feel that. I don't trust Agapova at all. That last fight, everybody. We were all over Rose, and I just feel like Jillian should be able to get grappling going, but you never know if she like headbutts a freaking shin like for a head kick or something like that. Very plausible, very possible. So I like the doesn't go the distance or the under. Like Agapova, if she's on her back, she's gonna be looking to get up. She's gonna spaz. Like I don't think she wants like two L's in a row. Like I don't think she's gonna hold on. If she is on her back. So but Jillian could be a little tepid. Like when she couldn't take down JJ Aldrich, like she just phoned it in. But I because that happened, I don't think it'll happen again, as funny as that is to say. So I like the under, it doesn't go the distance.
All right, that's going to move us to the next fight, which is taking place in the lightweight division. Trey Ogden taking on Daniel Zellhuber. Odds for this one: Zellhuber minus 300. Ogden coming back plus 250. Probably one of the least interesting fights in the card for me. You could start this one off here, Ozzy.
Zellhuber guy, I mean, the fight that he had against Almeida in the contender series is a great fight. He's super composed, was well rounded, looked to control the pace, like, put out his strikes. There was some grappling in it, showed great cardio. And I think he should still be improving. He's taking on Trey Ogden, who, I mean, looked bad against Jordan Wright or Jordan Levitt, got tired. His submission game didn't look all that great to me. His wrestling obviously wasn't, a standout. And then, on the feet, he just did not show a lot of touch to me, a lot of killer instinct. Like the guy just did not look like a too well rounded of a guy. But I mean, I could see him, putting out a better performance here. But I think Zellhuber is definitely the size. Like this guy is really long, lanky, strong for the weight class. I think he's gonna have like a Michael Morales kind of trajectory here, and I think Trey Ogden's probably just probably ends up tiring out a little bit. Maybe being effective a little bit early on, but I think Zellhuber is able to pick up the pace later on in the fight and just pull away from Trey Ogden. But I'm interested that maybe he could get a lot of him to grapple with him, but I think Zellhuber's too smart to not be putting out consistent damage on Ogden. So I'll take Zellhuber to win this fight inside the distance. I don't know.
Yeah, I was
Yeah, probably
taping this one
cage just
early.
KO.
I was taping this one earlier, but honestly, had to go do something and never really finish it up. I was seeing good things from Zellhuber. I just hadn't seen him on his back. My boy John Starr was saying that he had been tested in some on the ground in some of his combate fights. So I'm gonna go finish watching those later. But Ogden it is really bad, man. I mean, I bet this fucking guy versus Jordan Levitt, and he royally fucked that fight up. And I don't think I'll ever trust this guy again after how bad and pathetic he just gave that fight away. Got outstruck and lost a round on the feet to Jordan Levitt. So that just tells you everything you need to know. Zell Hooper is going to destroy this guy on the feet, and Ogden's going to have to grapple to win. And considering I don't even think Ogden is really a good offensive wrestler or grappler, I don't trust him to do so. And Zell Hooper actually looks pretty competent in grappling. I've seen him do good things on top position when he gets there. So unless Zellhuber is just really bad on bottom and Ogden shows up with a good grappling game plan, I don't see Zellhuber losing this fight. That's going to take us next fight, women's strawweight division. Loma Lookboonmee taking on Denise Gomes. Uh, Loma is the favorite here, minus 231. Gomes plus 196. Once upon a time, I laid some heavy chalk on Loma. She did win the fight. She beat Sam Hughes at minus 260. But after that fight was over, I said, yeah, that was a mistake, and I'm not going to be doing that anymore. And obviously, I've now endorsed the philosophy of never bet women's favorites ever, and now after Jake Collier, never betting favorites past minus 250 ever again. So I need you guys, the listeners, to hold me accountable. If I ever start endorsing bets past those parameters, I need you guys to check me. So the only side you could play here is Gomes, and she fought in the Contender Series 3 or 4 weeks ago. She looked all right. She fought a pretty bad opponent, but she outstruck her pretty wide. And I'm seeing an angle in this fight is Gomez throws punches. She is an okay boxer, and Loma being a Muay Thai fighter, just always neglected her boxing defense in Muay Thai in Thailand. They don't really throw a whole lot of hands in their fights, especially the women's fights. And you see that evident in Loma's fighting style because her boxing defense is just not there. She's not used to getting hit with punches so much in these fights. And even Sam Hughes was able to be landing a lot of straight punches on her. So I think Denise Gomez can make this fight close with the volume and the striking. And Loma's gonna torture the clinch if they get up close. She's gonna be landing good knees and elbows, maybe throwing her down to the mat a little bit. Even at kicking range, Loma's probably gonna be picking her apart with little kicks. But Gomez, I think, is gonna be coming forward and throwing punches. And as much as Loma is a technical, skilled fighter, it's gonna be a close women's striking fight. And I think one of those women at plus 200, one of those women with their decision line at plus 300, I think is the side. So it's Gomes or pass here all day.
I really don't care about this fight. I really do not like Loma Lookboonmee as a fighter overall. So I'll roll the dice with Denise Gomez. If Martian is selling the stock on Loma, then I will as well. Even though I never owned it, I'll sell it anyway. But yeah, we could get 215, 210, 210 is 210 is pretty good. I mean, Loma, she just doesn't, like you said, doesn't win fights that clearly. She's like a show woman, but she doesn't like have a lot to show. Like she just like a low pace, low output, low power, Thai, traditional striker. So I mean, this Gomez girl, I think she could bring the fight to her more. So let's go with her.
Sticking in the women's division next, up to 135
Oh yeah,
bantamweight.
P.
Aspen Ladd, Sarah McMann. Sarah is the dog here. Ladd minus 143, McMahon plus 123. What are we thinking here?
Man, Sarah cashed some big tickets last time. She was like plus like 200, I think, in that neighborhood against Cara Rosa. Everybody thought, it's gonna be another quitting performance. Everybody was just waiting on it, and Sarah pulled through. Sarah did not quit. Sarah kept taking her down, holding her down, and I think she could do the same thing here again because the same stuff, like people would be like, "Oh, Sarah, she ends up quitting, she gets finished, whatever." Aspen Ladd, she just stops doing stuff, sometimes. Like, she did have a better third round. I think it was against Raquel Pennington, but she's so delusional. She thought she won the fight. Like, there's absolutely no way. And I just feel like McMahon, in this smaller cage, maybe she could get some takedowns in here. And, if she puts Aspen Ladd on her back, she should be able to, easily hold her down. But the issue is Sarah potentially getting put on her back. You saw that against Juliana Pena. Pena was able to choke her out pretty quickly after that. Um, so that's like the concern for sure. And then maybe like Aspen Ladd trying to, get up or, revert whatever from the bottom. And then Sarah like progressing position to like back mount or whatever. And then Aspen Ladd ending up on top of her. But I mean, I think I'll roll the dice, a little bit with Sarah plus 123. I think that's fair. I mean, Aspen Ladd is a weird fighter. I don't know why people are that confident and would lay juice on her. It's only been bad with Aspen Ladd. That's funny. But it's only been bad news, dude, all the time. So why would you I don't understand people wanting a better, but whatever. Your turn. So
Yeah,
I take Sarah McMahon.
maybe the upside here for Land is Lad is she's a lot younger, right? Like probably like 13 years younger. Um, but I don't see where else she really has an advantage. I mean, even in the striking, I honestly think McMahon is probably the better striker. Lad's striking is atrocious, and her game A
Slow as fuck.
is really the grappling, and she's fighting a better grappler than her here. McMahon's a better wrestler, probably has better
Nickname
jujitsu.
should be Slow Twitch. His nickname should be Slow
What does she
Twitch.
have a lot?
Aspen Slow
Is
Twitch
it like Cupcake?
Lad.
Is it Cupcake Lad? Aspen Cupcake Lad?
It's some no, no, no. That's Misha Tate,
She
bro.
doesn't have a nickname. She needs one. Yeah. Maybe like
No, Slow Twitch.
Fatty Sugar Patty or something would be good for Aspen. But yeah, I'm betting Sarah here as well. I bet her plus 110 on DraftKings. Then I see the line like jump up to plus 123 on Bet Online. So my bet MMA says plus 110, but I cashed out of that and I bet her plus 123 on Bet Online, which is still what it's at now. And
Make sure
McMahon,
you guys write that down.
that
Make sure you
extra that
let the
extra
record
zero point
show.
0.13 units. I want it on my fucking record.
Record show. Let the
Um,
record show.
but I mean, yeah,
Line shopping, guys. Line shopping.
she just beat Carol Rosa, who's a dangerous woman. Who, McMahon still has a really good 2 rounds in her. Obviously, she still kind of like cucks a little bit in round 3. She's done that in back-to-back fights. But I still think she should have enough in the tank here to win 2 out of 3 rounds. So give me McMahon. Um, that's going to take us welterweight division. Hilarious fight here. Trevin Giles taking on Louis Cosce. Giles is the favorite, minus 212. Cosce plus 182. So had to remind my phone, what he looked like. I remember the Platnikov fight, but it was a long time ago, almost 2 years ago, right? Yeah, just 2 months shy of 2 years ago. This guy gassed out in record time in that fight. Literally 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes into the fight, he is death gassed, and it's just a really funny fight. I mean, from the time Kasi rocks him, like, it's maybe 3 minutes into the video. 20 minutes later, the fight is still going on because there's just breaks in between rounds, and then these guys are fouling each other left and right. It dragged on so long. It was just like the longest fight I've ever seen. And then eventually Kasi did get TKO'd there.
If you take that fight and Palatnikov's other fight against Tanner, where you cashed on Tanner, those two
Exact same
fights,
story. Great,
probably the most fouls and time in between two fights that a guy's ever had.
great reference there. I didn't even think of that. But yeah, I mean, Kasi, he's really bad, man. I mean, his punches come up short. He has pretty short arms. Like, what's this guy's reach? It's probably
He's like
disproportionately
he-
short. Um,
he's like Pletcher.
Seven
He's
yeah,
like another version of
71
Pletcher.
inch reach at welterweight. That's
Fucking
small.
Hobbit.
That's really small. So,
Right.
you know,
You'd fucking out jab him, right, Martian?
for sure, and you know who's gonna outjob him is gonna be Officer Giles here. I mean, this guy is only has 3 inches of reach, but he's the former middleweight. He's gonna be the bigger guy in there, and Giles is an idiot. He fights terribly, but like the guy does actually have good offensive boxing, and he's a decent counter wrestler. I don't think he's gonna get taken down and held down here versus Kasi, and he's gonna be the more technical fighter on the feet. It's just you can't trust this guy at this price tag of minus 200. Giles is a guy you can possibly stab on as a dog with minimal confidence, but you can't be laying chalk on him. That's just not a good winning long term strategy. So Giles is going to be the pick to win, but I just can't get involved. Let me check the props to see if there's anything interesting here. Um, Oh, Giles'
Man,
decision 3-1. They have the
oh
fight
no.
ending inside the distance is minus 325 here. I think that's off. I mean, Kasi gassed out in his
Oh,
last
bro.
fight. He's gonna be fighting a little more conservatively, trying to conserve that gas tank, and this one's gonna go over. The over minus 155 or the over 1.5. I think that's gonna be a bet for me too. What do you think?
No, no, this fight's definitely finishing under,
Under what?
under everything, under everything. 2.5, 3, doesn't start around 3, under to 2.5, 1.5. So I mean, Officer Giles, man, I think his chin is bad now. I think the weight between when you combo the weight cut and then getting hit by hitters, which obviously Michael Morales seems like he hits hard, but I think Luis Cossi also hits hard. But the problem is also Luis Cossi, he's available to be hit, and Officer Giles, like I just think he's a certain kind of fighter. Like he's a former cop, bro. So you know cops like with the ego trip, like if they get like touched up a little bit, right? Like he's just trying to fucking just abuse his power after, like come right back, prove himself. I don't know if that makes sense, but it should. You know what I mean. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Um, these guys, I mean, Giles is gonna try to jab, and Kosey's gonna throw overhand rights to dipping left hooks, and they're just gonna exchange it out. I feel like Giles maybe goes for a takedown at some point. But I don't trust the guy. I haven't since the Roman fight. I think I don't know when I sold the stock, but the 170, the 15-pound drop is no good. Kasi though also is no good. So this is a fight only involved with the total under for sure. Someone's going to sleep, bro. Someone's getting finished in this fight. Definitely.
Yeah,
100%. Lock it
I'm
up.
doing Giles' decision instead of over. I feel like
Bro, how is Giles decision hitting? It's not happening, bro. Come on.
no. I already laid out the
They're
path.
boxing. If they're on their feet for 15 minutes, someone's unconscious.
No, no, no.
Yes.
Um, so here's the layout for that is Cosce isn't like super chinny. Like remember he took a beating from Platnikov before falling over. And he
Nikov's a 155er, bro.
he's 170. But anyway, so he's not
Guys,
Giles
look
isn't
how frail
but let me
looking
let me
that
walk
guy
let me
is,
walk through
bro.
the path. Giles is just gonna jab him up, straight punches.
You remember James Krause? You remember what happened with James Krause? Out he came into his corner after Giles finished beating him up in that first round or whatever. He's like he punches so heavy, it hurts. He hits hard.
That was at
Cosse's in
180.
the
That was
field.
at 185. That was at 185.
Doesn't matter, bro. The guy brings the power down with
Bro,
him.
he's a jabber. He don't hit hard. He's not hitting shit hard. Yeah, this is Giles' decision. So next fight's gonna be, let's see, last fight on the prelims. Incredible matchup here. Featherweight division. Damon Axton Jackson taking on Project Pat Sabatini. A grappler's delight here at 145. Sabatini minus 185. Jackson plus 160. Amazing matchup here. What do you be thinking, Ozzy?
Amazing matchup. I feel like it's not gonna happen this week. I don't know why. Obviously both these guys are very reliable. Damon, the guy made weight for I don't know what fight, a 155 fight like 2 months ago or some shit like that. He's crazy. Project Pat, baddest motherfucker that I know in Philadelphia after the Martian, obviously. So second baddest dude I know from Philly. I mean, the guy's a terror. Like I said, people laughed at me when they're like, "Oh, you Ozzy, you're just promoting him because of this or that." Man, the guy mixes up the jujitsu, the wrestling with the ground game, as good as most guys do it because he can fight from his back. Like he could be pulling guard, pulling these butterfly guards, going for the heel hooks and the sweeps and stuff like that, or he could just hold top position, and then he could fish for the neck and stuff like that. He's just a very well-rounded grappler, and he's gorilla strong at 145. So this guy's a fucking problem. He reminds me. He's kind of like this will people will be like, this is a dumb comparison, but like if Sean Shirk knew jujitsu and was a little bit more flowy on the feet, I feel like that's kind of like that Pat Sabatini model. But he could grind guys down with a much more clean jujitsu game. As soon as the guy makes contact with you, you saw as soon as he grabbed that little fucking hobbit larmy from fucking Canada. What do they feed these people in Canada that larmies come out? But he just started tangling that dude up in a web, and you could see that larmy was like, I am fucked every time he got put on bottom. But this is a tough fight because Damon, he's also a big guy for 145, is long, uses it well both in the grappling and when he does choose to strike, and he's got great conditioning, great cardio. So I think this is gonna be a tough fight. I think this line should. I mean, I would agree with the action now coming in on Jackson, just because I think it's gonna be tough to sweep Damon if he gets if Pat goes to the bottom at any point, whether that be a Damon takedown or Pat going to his back or maybe falling off like while going for a submission, something like that. So I think that'll be difficult. But I do think Pat will find a way because he's just gonna be throwing out these submissions on Damon. I like Pat by submission once again. Just
No.
think that I like Pat by submission once again. I'm not saying it's definitely gonna hit. But he's gonna have Damon in some submissions. So I get 4-1. Hopefully, maybe we could get closer to a 5-1 because Damon will put himself in some submissions. Pat, I know, will go for submissions. He will look to end the fight at some point with a submission. Damon is willing to grapple. But then if these guys are on it, this fight is all about the conditioning of Sabatini because we know what Damon's bringing. Um, so I mean, I would have to go dog or pass here just because. But I think Damon's gonna be on his back here. I think people will be surprised at how much Pat's able to control the early exchanges and go for his takedowns. But we'll see how he holds up over three.
Pat ain't subbing this man. He's just not. I mean, Jackson is really resistant to submissions, and Sabatini. Remember he's a wrestler first. He has really good jujitsu and really good submissions, but his main game is to just wrestle and to, a little bit kind
Sean
of ride
Shirk.
ride people from top. And we've seen this guy control, Lutz and Laramie and Connolly and have them in really dominant positions for long stretches, and he hasn't subbed those
Lutz.
guys.
Don't forget about Lutz when he was an underdog
I
to
said
Tucker Lutz.
I said all three. No, no, no. Lutz was the dog there. Um,
No. It finished Sabatini dog.
Really interesting. Anyway, I just don't think it's likely that he submits him at all. 4-1, I don't think is nearly good enough. I honestly think you need like 7-1, to for it to be value. I honestly think if anybody's submitting one another here, I think Jackson has the better chance to do it because, watching the Bektik fight, this guy he's just a pesky guy to deal with in the grappling because when you take him down, he's going to go for the front headlock choke, he's going to go for the arming guillotine, and then you get him flat on his back, he's going to be yanking the Kimura and try to
Oh
sweeping
man,
off the
come on.
Kimura.
This
And
guy Bektik and Sabatini jiu-jitsu wise, bro, is a whole different level. It's like
no,
two
it's
levels.
extremely comparable, bro. Bektik is
Not the jiu-jitsu, no. Maybe the wrestling, yeah, I'll give you that, but not the feel for the jiu-jitsu. How many fucking submissions does Bektik have on his record?
I don't
Probably
know,
like
but
one.
Sabatini doesn't have as many as you think. Um, right? I mean, he has several knockouts, a lot of decisions. Anyway, they're it's the most comparable log for Jackson. And if you say, this is no one's really tried to take Pat down as like their game plan, right? But like if we have to look at who has tried to grapple Jackson, Bektik is the best example for that. And he got taken down. He was spent on bottom for the first 2 rounds for the majority of those times. Probably lost the first 2 rounds, but like I said, he just dealt with the grappling adversity well, and he was constantly throwing up submissions and making it difficult. And I feel like we do have that relevant tape of a guy trying to grapple Jackson and it failing, and Jackson coming up on top. While we don't really have as much footage about that for Sabatini, I think actually maybe like the Chepe
Sabatini
Mariscal
doing what?
fight,
For Sabatini doing what? What are
like
you
a
talking about?
grappling fight with him. And I'm just remembering, yeah, Jose
Did
Mariscal.
Larmy have him? Larmy got on top of him and he reversed him.
Larmy stinks. No, but the Mariscal fight from back in the day, a pretty long time ago, but that
That
was
fight was fucking
that
crazy.
was like a back and forth grappling fight where they was like taking each other's backs like left and right. Um, so
This fight
I agree.
fucks so hard,
I
dude.
agree that
This
it
fight is
is
so good.
it is dog or pass.
Damon's not submitting fucking Pat
No, I don't
Sabatini.
think either guy is submitting. I mean, I think it's going to go to the decision, and it's probably going to be a pat decision. But I think it's going to round three. You gotta favor Damon Jackson, right? Damon Jackson, multiple round three finishes. Pat has slowed a little bit in round three. The Connolly fight, he slowed a little bit, and maybe another one as well. But
Has 10 submissions, dude. Fuck you talking about he doesn't have them as many as you think.
that is more than I would have expected. But still, yeah, he's not. I don't think either of these guys are submitting each other. Goes the distance is probably going to hit here. It's probably going to be a Sabatini decision, but it's just not going to be an easy cover. I don't think. I don't think you can. You're going to be feeling like too safe with that
East
-185.
Side gang, Henzo Gracie, Philly, 17. How many
It
wins in
is
a row
16
is
and
it
no.
gonna
Yeah, that's
be?
the reason why you can't. It's 16. I think
17
it's
and 0.
no, no, no. It's only 15
Sorry,
or 16.
Damon. Sorry, Damon. Thank you for trying. East
All right,
Coast
by the way, you yelled
Jiu-Jitsu,
there. You
East Side.
don't be yelling like that. But yeah, let's remind
All right,
everybody Marquez MMA is like 15-0 in the UFC. So
that's
Pat's
it.
gonna keep the streak going.
That's it.
First fight in the main card, middleweight division, Anthony Hernandez taking on Marc-Andre Barriault. Hernandez is the favorite, -174, Barriault +149. So I've been a historic MAB supporter, but I'm once again selling stocks here. I have bet Hernandez in this fight, and I bet against Hernandez in his last fight with Josh Fremd, and I just made a mental note there that this guy is not a guy you want to be betting against. I mean, he's a relentless grappler who has 15 minutes of cardio, who will shoot 15 takedowns if he needs to, kind of like Tony Gravely. But the thing is, the higher the weight class goes, the more valuable that is because these guys just can't grapple and wrestle that well the higher weight classes you go. So, Hernandez is just a
Giving out,
dog.
you giving out the secrets, bro.
So
Relax.
Hernandez is just a dog, man. I mean, he might be put his neck in like a guillotine or something here, and people think, oh, MAB submitted Jordan Wright. No, bro, he's not submitting Hernandez. Hernandez is going to get out of those chokes. Rodolfo Vieira couldn't submit this guy. Marc-Andre Barriault's not going to as well. And the only advantage Barriault has here is on the feet, but I just don't think that Hernandez is going to allow him to get that striking range because it's the small cage, and Hernandez is just a relentless pressure, and he's going to just be in MAB's face the entire time, pushing him back, getting him in the cage, dragging him down, and he'll take him down as many times as he needs to probably win by decision here. Might even submit MAB. What is the line? I wonder on Hernandez submission. It is not that good. It's only 300. Not good enough for me. But I think Hernandez is going to drown him, and he's I would say probably I'm leaning decision. But I think it's probably going to be 30-27, honestly.
Yeah, I remember, very funny. Before Hernandez's last fight, right, against Frem, I think it was like a Twitter Spaces, and the guy came on. He's like, "Yeah, Fluffy. I think this guy, he's a be contender, and he reminds me of Cain Velasquez." And then this one guy was like, You're an idiot. You're so stupid. You're so." And then this motherfucker went out there and it looked exactly like a Cain Velasquez fight. And I mean, I've been high on this guy, the whole time. Now going back to the West Side, show the West Side some love. Hernandez and some of the guys that he's training with over there, like I just like their approach to MMA, how Hernandez is really chaining some of these things together. He does a lot of really crafty things in the cage as well. There was like one time where I think it's like the second round, first round, I don't remember. A Frem throws like a jab, and Fluffy parries it with his right hand, and he kind of passes it off to his left hand, and then he just kind of like pulls himself like into like a clinch, or single leg with his other arm, as Frem is like trying to pull away and get away from him. So just like crafty things to get the fight in close. And once he starts leg riding, and once he's in on the hips or on the legs, he's really good at finishing in a multitude of ways. He's not maybe like the most tremendously strong guy, but the guy's pace is crazy. He's switching off grips. He's kind of like grabbing an ankle to keep you in place. While he fishes for a choke, or he throws a few strikes in there. That's the thing too. He puts out damage, and then he looks to submit, and he goes for submissions that usually don't put him in too much risk for losing position. But even when he does lose position, he's like coming up on single legs from bottom. He's looking to stay active. He doesn't really relent, too much. And he's able to keep fights at his pace a lot and make guys uncomfortable. So MAB, I just don't think this guy's grappling wise there at all. I mean, he looked okay on top of a Zaitar, but again, short and right, like even the guillotine he goes for, it's like not a great guillotine. Like a guy like Hernandez is going to be able to escape that. Like Hernandez's like special move, if he was in the Mortal Kombat game, is a fucking guillotine. Like he's not getting caught by like a guillotine like that from MAB. And the fact that MAB is even allowing a guy like Jordan Wright to get in positions like that on him, it's just bad news to me. Sometimes I look at it like almost you compare it to like the NFL. Like if you're letting a team always be third down and 2 on you, like maybe you're gonna be able to escape a few times, but you got a guy like Anthony Hernandez getting into those wrestling positions so often. While MAB, on the other hand, does not like he's not that accurate with his hands. He doesn't throw really kicks, all that much. He just kind of like is a grinder, and then he tries to up the volume later on. But I think he's gonna meet his match here. We'll see if he's able, to make Hernandez use more energy than expected, and then he's able to, maybe box him up in the later rounds, or dirty box. But I think he's gonna get taken down and finished here. So I'm gonna take Hernandez money line inside the distance submission. Give it all to me. Maybe even an under as well. I'll take it all just because I think it's gonna be a high paced fight, and Hernandez is gonna be in his finishing positions often.
Yeah, the only route I see him losing is what you were describing, kind of just surviving early and then maybe coming on strong on 2 and 3. But I'm pretty certain Hernandez is winning round 1 here. So um, next fight, heavyweight division, Tanner Boser-Nascimento, and the odds for this one have Boser as the favorite, -168, Nascimento +148. What are you thinking here?
interesting fight-ish. Boser was very active last year. Last year was his last fight, right? In June last year, something like that.
Yeah, yeah, long time.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, so, he was very active, then he had that fight. I think that's the one that ended a little controversial. I don't know if I can remember. But I mean,
Yeah, yeah, it
Boser,
was like a fence grab
yeah,
allegedly.
the fence thing, yeah. So I
But
mean,
he didn't
he
actually
has a
even
lot
grab
of
it.
right. He has a lot of experience overall. He's been to 14 decisions. Wow, Nascimento, he's finished a bunch of his UFC fights, but the guy's like kind of a soul starter. Like, I mean, I don't know how much he's only has 9 fights overall, and he just got popped for Adderall in his last fight, and had to sit out for like 10 months or a year or whatever it is. And crazy that he popped for Adderall in that fight with how lethargic of a performance it was up until that point. So I don't know, got to get a few more milligrams in you. Um, but I just don't like the guy. I feel is a guy that very likely to wilt. Like, if Bozer is able to pressure him, he's never fought around 3. He hasn't fought like outside of 6 minutes, 7 minutes before. And you got a guy in Bozer who's very, very durable. In those 29 fights, he's only been stopped by strikes one time, and that was like in the first 10 seconds of a fight, which is kind of like a little bit of what we would call a random outcome. It eventually probably happens to a few guys. But Nascimento, like his shots, like the punches that he threw, like even in that barrage against Bedeau, this is not that much, to I don't think he's kind of thinking it out too much. He was already behind in that fight as well. So I think he's gonna have to grapple here, obviously. Bozer, his takedown defense has looked a little shaky, but I just kind of trust him to win this fight against, Nascimento a little bit more than I think Nascimento, comes out, and looks good for 3 rounds. So I don't think Bozer is gonna be easy to finish. So I think with the fight, I think mapping out on a longer scale, I just think Bozer beats Nascimento more often than not. So I'll side with him at the -165 number. But I could definitely see the grappling path to victory, but I don't like the takedowns I see from Nascimento. Like, he doesn't really have leg attack. I'm not high on the guy overall.
Yeah, I mean, you're right on point here,
Like,
and
I think Nascimento would lose. Sorry to butt in. Like, he probably lose if you put him on like Contender Series. Like, I wouldn't be that sure that he'd be coming off that, from those fights. But
um, yeah, so I agree with pretty much everything. I mean, Nascimento, his wrestling is not that good. I mean, the Maze fight, he looks all right, but I mean, really, this guy's takedowns are pretty minimal on tape out there. Um, and he's just not a guy who gets down, leg attacks like you were saying. He doesn't shoot below the waist very many times. Um, he does those upper body takedowns and tries to drag you down from like a body lock or something. And Bosser did get taken down in one of those positions versus OSP, but he was able to regard. He was able to stand back up. And if he's able to stand up and escape OSP, I think he's probably not in that much danger here versus Nascimento. And I totally agree with what Ozzy was saying about Nascimento just wilting. This guy just doesn't seem like he has a lot of fight in him. Alan Badeau was outstriking this guy. Alan Badeau stuffed multiple of his takedowns, and that was before Nascimento popped for steroids. So this guy could be coming off steroids. The one positive thing I'll possibly say about him is he has been training at ATT for like a few years now. He might be getting a lot better. He is still young, so maybe we haven't seen the best from Nascimento yet. He's steadily improving his grappling out there, but honestly, in this spot, I'm looking to bet Bosser or nothing at all because I think Bosser is going to knock him out. Might get taken down here. I think I trust him to probably stay safe enough to get back up to the feet. And on the feet, I just think it's going to be a pretty one-sided affair. Bosser just way faster hands. Nascimento does not see punches coming. And the way Bosser like loops his punches around the guard, I actually think is going to work really effectively here, kind of like Dawkins did. And I think he's probably putting Nascimento to sleep in the first round here. So look to bet that one accordingly. Next fight, middleweight division, Alan Amedov taking on Joe Pyfer. The betting line for this one, Pyfer is a massive favorite, minus 450. Amedovski plus 350. So Amedovski's another one of these role players. This guy, hasn't won a fight in almost like 4 years, I think. Yeah, December of 2018, last time he won. Multiple knockouts in round one against some low level opponents, but this guy is just not a very uh, thorough fighter. He doesn't have much or any grappling, and he kind of just swings and bangs on the feet. And this guy can't connect you with like a knockout on the feet. He really doesn't have many ideas on what to do after that. We saw him get rocked versus Holmes. He got rear naked choked with no hooks in there. And I think, Pyfer's probably going to kill this guy. Pyfer's coming off of the Contender Series nice knockout over Ozzy. And, I think obviously the Dana and the UFC fell in love with Pyfer after that. And I think they truly went, they said, who is the worst middleweight on the roster? We're going to give you the worst middleweight on the roster. Get your feet wet, get you a win, get you a nice $50,000
Get him
bonus.
paid.
Exactly.
Yeah, get him
And
paid.
they're just trying to, hook Pyfer up here and give him the easiest path. And they're like, oh, we got this Amedovski fight.
Marquez MMA, they getting the lookout.
Yeah, but be careful because Sabatini fights before this. I mean, if he fucks up the streak somehow and ruins
Oh,
the streak, I mean, watch out.
oh,
All bets could be off. But I have a bet here actually under 1.5 rounds. Very rare that I bet one of those, but I'm betting it here. I just think it's super likely that Pyfer is going to kill this guy, and Amedovski seems pretty incapable of fighting much longer than 7.5 minutes. So yeah,
what's the juice on that? What's the juice on that?
175. It is quite juiced,
Oh,
but I
yeah,
cap it.
175.
I cap at
Okay.
70%. So I'm hitting it. Fuck it. We're hitting it.
Okay, okay, I see. Yeah, I mean, I don't got too many thoughts other than I think Pfeiffer's gonna try to come and bang this guy up. I mean, the guy's super well rounded though. I was kind of baffled when that line was pick him against Ozzy Diaz. My what do you call that? What do you call that? When someone has
Well,
they why is there not a name for like you and John? You guys are all like I don't know, kinship. I don't know what kinship you share there.
yeah,
But
I
anyway,
don't understand what's happening here. John
anyway, yeah,
Smargarian?
Pfeiffer, yeah, exactly. Pfeiffer, yeah, Pfeiffer. I mean, he's got power in his hands. He looks to finish a fight with submissions when it gets to the ground. Amedovski, I guess he could. It is volatile when guys are just swinging. You never really seen uh home Joseph's chin, all that much. So I'm sure he could get clipped. That's why I kind of do like that under, because they're in that small cage as well in the apex. So yeah, I think that Pfeiffer should knock this guy out. But I wouldn't rule out the submission either. But I feel yeah, actually, what's the submission? Because I feel like
It's bad. It's like 210 or something like that, like
shit.
plus
I feel
210.
like the submission is definitely very possible because
275.
Pfeiffer could be like, all right, like why would I just go into a swinging fest with this guy when I'm so much stronger than him. Like I just take him down and get him, submit him. So
I
so
don't he doesn't like jiu-jitsu that much. He likes throwing hands.
his jiu-jitsu look good against Diaz, dude. Yeah, the arm triangle there. Yeah, he took that back.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
looked
that's
good.
true.
He
That's
went
not
for
a
a
bad, yeah.
takedown there.
Yeah, 275 might not be that bad. Plus,
I, I, I
this
think
guy
I think
he gave up his neck so easily to Holmes, and he was just looking to tap there. So, like,
what I'm
if
trying to
he's
say.
eating
What I'm
strikes,
trying to
he's
say.
probably just gonna be like,
Yes.
choke me and get this over with.
And Piper, bro, that's an anxious guy, bro. I feel like if he sees like a finish on the silver, he'd be like, "All right, let me get this done." He could be like the Todd Duffy of the middleweight division.
Interesting. Oh, well, I think he might take offense to that, honestly. So I won't tell him you
Oh, he
said
would.
that.
You think?
Um,
You think so?
yeah,
Todd Duffy won a lot of, or the Anthony Rumble Johnson. How about that? Get a
there you
black
go.
guy.
I think he's fine with that. He's fine with that comparison. Next
Okay.
fight, the third and final Philly guy on the card. Um, in the featherweight division, Andre Touchy Philly, Bill Senior Perfecto Algeo. And we have this fight almost lined as a pick 'em here, slightly into Feely minus 114 for Feely, minus 106 for Bill. Some action coming in on Bill the past few days. Um, and your turn to start this one off, Ozzy. What are you thinking?
Yeah, so I mean, this is at dog odds, which I found interesting that people came in on the Bill side. I thought people would honestly come in on Feely, just because like Feely, you could look at that punch like that he got hit with from Brito. And look at it in like, oh, like just like a stupid outcome, meme finish, right? Meme KO. Like he got up right away, right after. Like he probably could have took a few more shots. I don't know if he would have recovered. Who knows? But he was just up right away, and he was like, "Fuck, that sucked." I think that might have been was that the first time he got KO'd? Oh no, Yair flying need him. But yeah, I mean, Andre, if he's getting up there in age, I mean, I feel like his grappling is just always huge hole because like the guy he said he was training with Gary Tonin. And this is like 10 years into his career, more or less. I don't know exactly. I'm not gonna look at it. But he was like training with Gary a lot and all this and Henzo Gracie and all this stuff. And then he right after that he had the Bryce Mitchell fight, bro. So what the fuck is that? Like you know what I mean? Like, dude,
Only so much you could do.
his grappling just looked bad though in that fight. It just looked really bad. Um, so I feel like if they tangle up, I know Martian's gonna try and is gonna tell you that Fili wrestling, like he's gonna be able to take Bill down, which might be true. But if they exchange grappling, like I just trust Bill way more. And it depends on Andre's motor, which has always been good. Um, I'll say that. But I feel like his striking is honestly it gets talked up a little bit more than there really should be, off of just him beating up Pineda for a little bit and that, throwing those head kicks. Like I don't think Bill's gonna be I don't think the angles and the stuff that like that Muay Thai, that Dutch or that Dwayne Ludwig stuff that Fili does, I don't think is going to throw Bill off very much. And I just feel like Bill's gonna be able to adjust a little bit more than Fili. I feel like Fili, he's kind of like a little bit direct. Like he's either only looking to like kickbox, with you, or he's only looking to wrestle. Like example in that Jourdain fight. So I feel like Bill mixes it up a bit better than Fili. The conditioning, I'm interested to see how it'll play out, who's able to control the pace more. I think it'll be a competitive fight. I can understand pickup odds. I would play Bill as an underdog. I was not a part of the steam move towards Bill. But I could see a case for both sides. Obviously, Fili is much more proven overall, but I just feel like Bill's been active. I think he's got a solid chance to win this fight. But it likely goes the distance. But I feel like Bill could potentially submit Fili. So I like Bill's submission. I don't know what it is. What's Bill's submission? Do we get is it a good
I don't know, but
price?
you're way off on these
Yeah.
submission
Yeah.
reads today, so
Bill's
yeah, I mean,
submission, bro.
650. I mean, um, so you think Bryce Mitchell didn't submit this guy, but Bill's gonna?
Bryce Mitchell doesn't go for that many submissions.
Yeah, sure he does. Um,
You go
but
for any 100?
this let's check the stats. None officially.
Exactly.
Oh no, one. Anyway, so this is a
Yeah.
fight I've been thinking about for a while. Ever since Bill got to the UFC, this is like one of the matchups I've been really, wanting to see, and I'm really excited for this that we get to actually see it. Bill did call out Chase Hooper, which I would have think was a perfect matchup for him, but he got this matchup much different, much more difficult matchup. And Billy thrives in like anti-grappling type of fights. Like he can be taken down, right? His first layer of takedown defense is not good, but he's really good at just staying safe in positions, turn in positions, defending submissions, and whenever he has guys like Lamas or Brito or even wait, did I say Lamas? I meant Ramos or Brito. Even Lamas though, like he did well in all those fights because he knows how to mitigate risk on the feet on the ground, and he's just not going to get submitted or finished on the ground ever potentially until he fights maybe like Mosvar Evloev or something like that. But like this guy Bill is really really good at defending ground attacks and just staying safe on the ground. And I don't think Andre Fili possesses much of a threat on like putting Bill in bad spots on the ground here. Now, I do think Andre has the wrestling advantage. He is the much better offensive wrestler, and I think he can hit double leg takedowns here on Bill. If you guys remember the Sadiq Youssef fight, Andre Fili, they're banging it out on the feet, trading punches, and then very opportunistically and quickly, Andre Fili scoops up a double and takes him down. Now he doesn't keep his opponents down, but in rounds that are close striking rounds in the apex with a pretty small crowd, I think a potential big double leg takedown, that big impact on the cage, I think could be like a round swinging moment in Andre Fili's favor. And you know, like a lot of guys like Lamas, Ramos, Brito, even Herbert Burns, Bill's recent opponents, they want to grapple. They don't really want to hang out at the striking range for too long. The last guy who you look at who was really comfortable just striking with Bill was Brendan Loughnane, who had a lot of success with the outside leg kicks. That's going to be big in this matchup. Bill's pretty heavy on that lead leg, and when they're both in the orthodox stance here, I do think that Andre's leg kick, calf kick is going to be landing here, and then the jab of Andre is going to be landing. I do think Andre has the faster hand speed. Um, and probably the boxing of the two. Bill's a great striker of his own, but he's very versatile. Like he mixes in kicks and punches and the clinch attacks and everything. Andre's a much more traditional striker with a jab, a 1-2, the right high kick. And I think that traditional offense is going to give Bill some problems because Bill loves fight with his hands down. He loves trying to slip punches with his hands down. But I think he's going to be eating some jabs here. The leg kicks are going to be an issue, and I think the takedowns are
What
going to be landing here. What's
what
up?
happened? What happened the last time Andre Fili threw a jab in a UFC fight? What happened?
Yeah, I mean that was within the first minute, though. I mean, like you said, it's not exactly like the most indicative outcome, and I think that
Could
has a
mean
lot.
the guy's slowing down a little bit.
What do you say? Oh yeah,
Be
but I
that the
mean,
guy's
bro, I
slowing
mean
down a little bit.
he's 32, and he does train a team alpha male. He definitely is still training with really good partners. Yadong is in camp right now, so they got a lot of good
Girlfriend
bodies in the
is his
room.
strength and conditioning coach. His girlfriend is his
Um,
strength and conditioning coach.
I don't know if Bill does strength and nah, he definitely does, but anyway, I cap, Feely here. I got to give him a slight favor, 55 to 57%. I could see Bill, getting it into that scrappy type of fight where they're trading clinches and, it's just going to be a volume war here. But I think of the guys who have potential to win, like clearly and emphatically, I think that's a little bit more on Andre's side here. And, hate picking against my man Bill, but I do think this is not a great matchup for him. And at the odds, I just think there's value on Feely at these odds, truthfully. So anything below -130, I'd say is value on Feely. But I'm just hoping that we get to see a good fight. I do think it's very, very likely to go to the decision. The line is -210, like 67%. I honestly think it's probably closer to 75%. I don't see many finishes on the table here at all. So yeah, I mean, I think this one's GTD, and I think it's going to be Andre decision. Next fight, co-main event time, middleweight division, Chidi Njokuani, Gregory Hobocop Rodriguez. Njokuani is the favorite, -130. Robocop +110 on the comeback. I've bet against Chidi in I think two fights in a row now. Um, I've been skeptical of the guy. I'm starting to gain a little more respect. I'm starting to recognize that this guy is just a dangerous motherfucker in the first round. And he's a really good offensive striker. He has power. That elbow that he knocked out Dushko with was filthy. And definitely gaining respect for the guy, but it just sucks because they're giving me like better and better matchups. First they started off with MAB, which I thought was a good matchup. He got killed in 15 seconds. Okay, then they give me Dushko at +250. I don't like Dushko, but it's +250, so I'm going to take it. Now they got Robocop at plus money. I love Robocop. They're giving me plus money, and they're enticing me again to bet against Chidi again. And I think I'm going to have to do it because my thinking here is when these guys stay on the feet, you got to give a slight advantage to Chidi here. But Robocop is a really skilled striker of his own right. He checks kicks. He has nice boxing. He has good body kicks of his own. The guy gets some shit for his chin, but honestly, his chin really isn't that bad. I mean, he can get caught with like one shot and get put out sometimes, like Jordan Williams did. But then look at Junyon Park. I mean, he was hitting him with a lot of shots, and RoboCop was staying right in the pocket, staying in the mix. And next thing you know, he hurt Junyon Park and put him out. So I think on the feet here, you got to give like a 60-40, maybe 70-30 edge to Njokuani. But I think it's very possible that Hobocop wins some striking exchanges on the feet here. And then if you think that any guy has a grappling advantage, I think it's pretty comfortably in favor of Hobocop here, who has some nice takedowns. But when he really gets the fight to the in his realm is when he gets that back take. He's really good at floating to the back take. You saw him get some back takes um, on Junyon Park, as I was just mentioning, the Petrosian fight as well. And Rodriguez should probably be on like a 7 or 8 fight win streak here without that Petrosian bad decision there. So I think Hobocop is just a guy I love to watch fight. And I think I have to bet on him here as well at plus money because I recognize the Cheaty threat early with the knockout. I think that he could knock Robocop out early in round one here, but Hobocop could also get a takedown in round one here, which would, probably swing him to the favorite right away. So it is a spot where I understand if you want to wait to live bet, maybe, Cheaty starts fast and knocks him out. But I don't think I can pass up the plus money at this point. So I'm taking Hobo.
Yeah, this is a great fight. Didn't expect it. Thought that, excuse me, thought that HoboCop would fight one of the Florida middleweights, maybe one of the ATT guys, maybe like Jocko, but Jocko's got his hands full already. Excuse me. So yeah, I mean, uh, I'm interested in this fight. I mean, Cheaty, he did get taken down a little bit by Dusko, but he did work his way up, and it was definitely interesting to see that. Obviously, he won his contender fight. There was some prolonged top game from him there. And also work in the clinch, which the guy's obviously a Muay Thai guy, a good Muay Thai striker. But I think he got roughed up in the clinch a little bit in some of his Bellator fights. I think against Carvalho specifically. And he's just been a little bit hot and cold, but I do think he is coming into his own a little bit, like you said, very dangerous. Looks to strike on the break. Is a creative striker. Definitely has power, uses his range well. And I think potentially, his cardio. I don't know though about his cardio. Like, can he reliably finish guys in the later rounds? HoboCop. Obviously, we think that he has an advantage on the ground, but sometimes he doesn't really go for the takedown as hard as he should or you would want him to. And then when he does get there, like, it's like, how good on the ground is he? Like, is he going to consistently get finishes, or like is the ground game just something to win the rounds? And that's like something that Martian will say, "Oh, you're off on the submission thing." So that's the thing. Like, I'm trying to kind of get right with how likely some of these guys who do grapple or end up on top are to finish the fight when they have a advantage or a submission hold. So I think we're gonna get more submissions, just a meta thing, more submissions in the second half of this year or the last 3 months this year. So I'll be playing some more submission stuff. But anyway, about the fight, yeah, I think HoboCop, he just needs to not tire out. He looked okay against Armin. That was a good fight to prepare him for someone like Chitty, who's going to be banging those kicks, and maybe fighting off the back foot. So I will also take HoboCop plus 110. Very good. I got some even money right now. I will probably add to that position. And then we'll see what happens, how the fight goes. I definitely think Chidi could definitely win this. HoboCop could slow down and, Chidi could overwhelm him, or Chidi could just be able to stifle some of the takedowns, win the clinch positions, win the decision. So it should be a good fight, though. I like this middleweight fight for sure.
Yep, great matchup there. And that's going to take us to the main event, which is in the bantamweight division. Cory Sandhagen taking on Song Yadong, Song's first main event. And the odds have Sandhagen as the favorite, minus 181. Song Yadong coming back at plus 156. Another amazing matchup here to cap off this great fight night. Interesting to hear your thoughts on this one. What are we thinking?
Matchup, 5 rounds, love it. I think Song, he's had a really good UFC career so far. He's won, a bunch of fights, has fought pretty good competition for whatever his age is or whatever it is. Like, he just performed pretty well in all his fights. The one time I think he disappointed was a little bit against Kyler, which thought it was an interesting fight to go back and watch as well. Um, just thinking what his approach was there. I think I did back him that night. Just thought that he, as a favorite, wasn't that bad of a price. And, he definitely clearly lost, but I think in hindsight, it's not that bad of a loss. He comes in here against Sandhagen, who, I mean, Sandhagen, 2 losses in a row. I was watching those two fights back again, though, and, I kind of try to have to put it into context with TJ being, wherever you think TJ was at that in that fight going into it, and then later on in it as well after the first round where he tore his knee, and then that Yan fight where he just kind of got dominated there. Like he started going for takedowns and shooting in on Yan, which I just didn't understand. I think he said maybe that he was a little hurt or whatever it is, but I mean, I just think some of the strikes that he's kind of throwing, like he's catching TJ because TJ's a little slower, like kind of coming in, closing the distance in between them, and Corey's able to pot shot him, hit him with little jabs, little crosses, switching stances, doing all this bullshit. Which it works, it's effective, and I like watching it. Like I don't not like his striking style, but it's like it's a little Dominic Cruz sometimes when he's throwing some of the punches, without even some of the intent that Dominic Cruz puts out there, in my opinion. So I think that could be an issue here against Song because Song what he does, he's really good at moving within your punches to kind of set up his knockout strike, right? You see that in the Alejandro Perez fight. Alejandro Perez, I think he goes to throw like an inside leg kick or whatever, and like Song just takes his space and puts his right hand on him, knocks him out. Same thing against Marlon, how he's able to go from, slip, overhand right to, a little short left hook to all set up that uppercut that he kind of does by taking that inside angle there and, taking that space up. So I think against it's a good style. I think against a guy like Sandhagen, I think maybe he should look to work the legs a little bit. There are in that small cage here. And watch for that flying knee. But this dude's Song, his chins look really good. But obviously sometimes he does get hit clean with some of these strikes. I wouldn't be surprised that like Corey landed like a crazy strike on him. But I like Song, in this fight. I think his cardio is better than people give him credit for. I think he'll be able to pace himself. Like if he wants to just pace and maybe not pursue Corey as much and not get in as many exchanges to conserve cardio, I think he'll be able to do that. He should be able to do that. And I think his grappling game has been, let's just say, leveling up. So I actually think he could potentially have an advantage there in terms of getting to top positions. But Corey, this is another thing. Like I think he does look to end the fight by submission when people do lock up with him. You saw that he went for that triangle against TJ heel hook, so submission could be possible for him. But I like Song Yadong here on the money line. I've already bet him plus 175. And I think there's a lot of value on him at this price. I think all the way down to like plus 145, maybe right around there.
Yeah, initially I was thinking the value would be on Song, and I think it's definitely still easier to make a Song bet than it is to lay this chalk on Sandhagen. But I do think Sandhagen is going to eventually win this fight, and for that reason, I'm losing some confidence in the Song side. And I mean, Song's I think going to start fast. I think he's going to probably win one of the first two rounds, potentially even two of them. But I think as the fight goes on, the more it goes in Sandhagen's favor. He is obviously the one who's fought the full 5 rounds, and we have seen Song, look okay in some late rounds, but we've also seen him fade a little bit in other later rounds. The Vera fight, the Kyler Phillips fight, I think he faded a little bit in those. Maybe even in the Casey Kenny fight, it's just he's not really pulling away in these 3 round decisions. Like his last 3 fights that went to decision, even the Stamen fight, let's say his last 4 fights that went to the 3 round decision, he didn't emphatically win any of them. A split with Casey, unanimous loss to Phillips, a unanimous over Vera, but I honestly had Vera winning that fight, and then a majority draw versus Stamen. So I think that kind of shows a trend that he doesn't do so well with the full 15-minute fight. And he also lost round 3 to Vince Morales back in the day. So I think the 3-4-5 advantage here does lie with Corey Sandhagen, who seems to have just an endless gas tank, who is incredibly durable. Both these guys are just insanely durable, and I would be pretty surprised to see either guy knocking each other out, which does make me think that it is going to go the full 5 rounds. But at the same time, it also is probably going to be just a crazy striking fight where these guys are just hitting each other in the head over and over again. So that doesn't really feel like a smart bet to be minus 150 on fight for it, go the distance. So I'm not really seeing any pre-fight betting angles for this one here, except for wait for a Cory Sandhagen live bet, because I think the speed, the punching power of Yadong is going to give Cory some issues early, and Cory does build as the fight goes on. So I think that Song probably wins round one, round two is going to be getting close, and then 3, 4, 5, Cory is probably going to win those later rounds and win like a 48-47, maybe even a 49-46 decision here. And looking at all these bets, yeah, I'm not really seeing any props that jump off the page to me. Maybe those Sandhagen 4, Sandhagen 5 props at 22-1 and 30-1, if you can really leverage that cardio advantage. But yeah, Ozzy, you think this one's going the full 5 rounds?
Uh, yeah, probably, but mm, it depends on the pace. I feel like you see how big those prices are on Corey 4-5. That should tell you something.
Yeah, I wonder what the decision only. I haven't looked at these bets in too long, but I feel like decision only would be pretty good for Sandhagen here. Oh, minus 280. Never mind. No good. There's actually value on Song at plus 200 there, because he's incredibly durable. But that'll wrap up the fight card for us. 14 fights. I think we got through this one in a pretty reasonable amount of time. Yeah, just about hour and 10, and that's going to bring us to our best bet parlay of the week. Um, who are you thinking for yours, Ozzy?
I need to get another one on the board, and I like my boy Anthony Hernandez, v via Mexico from California, via California to get it done for me. I like the guy's game. I like the opponent. I like the matchup. I like the location. I like the line
That's
for
good.
Hernandez.
Um, I'm gonna have to do a total, and because BetOnline doesn't let you parlay them for some reason, we're gonna have to do it on
You
DraftKings
could
for
parlay
now.
totals.
Oh, is it okay? Maybe it's props that I'm thinking of. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm
Yes.
I'm sorry. Sorry, BetOnline. Sorry, Dave. Sorry, everybody listening. Anyway, so we're gonna do the under 1.5 in that Pyfer fight, and then we're gonna do that Hernandez money line for Ozzy. So what does that come out to here? So we got Pyfer under minus 175. Hernandez
74
174 comes out to plus 147. Okay, there it is. Best bet parlay of the week.
plus.
Hernandez money line and that under total. This is not my official best bet. If I had to pick a money line to do it with, though, I'd probably go with touchy feely on that one. Or
Yikes.
Greg, honestly, but it doesn't even matter because those aren't my official ones. So, official one, Hernandez money line under 1.5 in the Pyfer fight plus 147. And that's going to do it. Any closing thoughts here, Ozzy? I think we're off of UFC next week.
Yes, off for UFC next week, and then the good card. Some would say a bad card. I would say opportunity on the first.
Yep, October 1st. So we'll be back with you guys in a little over 2 weeks here. Hope you all enjoyed the podcast. Thank you all for listening. Hope you all enjoy the fights and win some bets this weekend. And we'll see you guys in 2 weeks before the next UFC. Peace out, everyone.